welcome back to Reframing Mindset podcast. My name is Consumer Brooks. I know, and this is right now April 2025, bro. 2025, and most of it, sadly, due to some reason, bro. Like legit, this year 2025, bro, I was so sick, bro. Like so sick on a on a different level. Like so sick that I was actually missing work. If you actually was listening to podcast, I'm out there doing this aviation thing, aviation. Oh my god, but it was taking so much, bro. Like legit, it was taking so much. The aviation thing is always easier said than what the call center experience, the customer service experience, but aviation thing, but in April, next thing is we actually would be in the fifth year of the home ownership. And what happened is that in the fifth year, and the next thing is about yeah, judge a person's. So my fifth year in home ownership, to like for example my grandma's first, it would be above 90, like how much years in her house and stuff like that. They can't compare it. Like, you can't compare your start to but now we're in April. I remember last year when I talked about spring cleaning and all those stuff. But what happens is that I'm doing this work, I'm barely have time cleaning the house. Barely. And what happens is that I'm going to the work, and when I come home and so barely have time to buy this stuff. So boom, in the early if you listen to the earlier episodes, I'm out here telling you all the healthy stuff or all the stuff that I want to do or why. Is that this work I'm unable to actually meet this stuff. And when I meet it in the wrong way. It's like boom, I get stuff, I buy certain stuff and boom, I actually make it to buy that. And then boom, that thing make me sick. Because what? Like for example, I'm trying to learn how to use a rice cooker now. So when I actually get used to cooking rice over the stove, I was like, yo, you get used to cooking rice over the stove, and then they say, okay, you're gonna change to the rice cooker because what is more faster. I get to eat meals and go to work and make money now, and then come out after buy better stuff and stuff like that. But you can't even get to do when you actually do it. The rice doesn't come out as quality as when you go to do it cooking. But the thing is, the rice cooker is the better option. And that's the thing you're gonna approach in this year, bro. Where the better option, like now relearning, like you leave the like me going to customer service and then going to this aviation thing. Boom, relearning the better skill. But in that period of relearning the better skill, you're going to be taking so much L. It's like the upgrade, but the upgrade don't feel like an upgrade. For example, what do I mean that? You listen to the podcast, and that's the reason why something I'm interested about this podcast is that if you actually listen to it and stuff like that, and if you're one of those core fan listeners, you're gonna listen to the changes, and what will happen is that the changes you can't really every Subboom I'm recording is the 2025 update. And what will happen is that you see me in real life and it's like I'm here still. But if you listen to the podcast, bro, yo, you realize that there's a chance that I may not be here in 2025. So it's like, that was the thing. I know the funny thing is that in the background what you're hearing, I don't know if you're gonna hear it, but water coming from the back. And what is that? Why? Because if you remember from last year, I was talking about working, the fourth year working and actually clocking in and getting pay slips and stuff like that. So what means that your those taxes that have been taken out, contribute to you actually getting more water and stuff like that. And it's like this year of episode is like I'm so sick and so sick and so like legit so sick. So, to strive for independence and all this stuff. But this year, this episode is like, I wish I could do more. Like I mentioned that this thing also have the video recording now. I wish one day you me actually see me do the recording on video. But this year, what happened is that this thing, what the important lesson is that I spoke about quality versus quantity and all these. So quality versus quantity and all these things. One of the important thing is I realized is trying to sell stuff. I can remember one of my my guests. He have a selling stuff, and I try to sell some stuff. And in my attempt actually, I try to use his services to try to sell some stuff that I have. Like for example, no, I'm doing April. I will be doing April spring cleaning and then stuff like that. I realize that the things I'm throwing out, some of them I wouldn't even buy them if I was on the other side. And what do I mean by that? If you remember last year, I made a purchase of a phone, and I bought the phone, and the phone screen just stopped working. And what happened was that I bought the phone at a price. But when the phone break, and then I actually just take some time to actually look into the phone and realize, oh, it's actually refurbished. So what happened is that is not the phone's fault per se or whatnot. It's just that me, the buyer, did not understand what the word refurbish means. Refurbish means that they actually refix the phone and sell it, so it's not brand new, it's not from the source and stuff like that. And what happened is that I could not afford the phone from the source. So I have to, it's better than nothing. So what means that I have to be working now to fix that phone. So I have that working, I fix the issue, but it's still not the source. So it's still not from the source, it's still not as fresh. And what happens is that I bought it, fixed it up, but then here the updates like, oh my god, they're gonna stop upgrading that phone. So it's like, I worked hard to actually reach this level, but I'm still way behind. Still way behind and stuff like that. And that's the thing about life. But that's the thing in my situation. But levels of richness and all this stuff. But this year the thing is that shelf life. That's one of the many things like you can't just take I was flying down recording a lot of episodes about it and all those stuff episode this year. But this is the main thing. It's like shelf life. That is the main topic of 2025. Like you doing April's like thing you're going to learn is that every year you do a spring cleaning or stuff like that, it's going to be more complex than the first year, than the year before. And what happens is that you're making purchases each year and you're getting smarter. And but what happens is that you're actually using something so that they have from the previous year. And then not only that, you're actually knowing what those stuff are. You're actually knowing what those stuff are and how to actually properly use them. So you know to buy quality stuff, not quality stuff. So that's the thing. Boom, and that's the thing where I talk about, yeah, getting the family on the same page and stuff like that. The next thing for this year is that boom. And next thing you have to mention, I said this episode is going to be. I was thinking about writing up this long, welcome to 2025. Oh my God, we made the 2025 recording, bro. But I was so busy, I couldn't even record it, bro. I couldn't even record the welcome to 2025 thing, bro. But I'm here now, thanks to circumstances that I don't want to happen. But we're out here recording it and all those. But the main thing is shelf life. So basically, it's gonna be a lot of rambling. But so 2025 is basically you. So I talk about last year. Last year the thought of would I like it if I have a son or a daughter, all these foolish. I say all, yeah, episode I want to record. a lot of ideas and stuff like that. A lot of ideas. But the main thing is that both people out here talking about poverty and all this stuff. Where I'm coming from, poverty is a thing. Poverty is a thing and stuff like that. But the thing is that there is somewhere in this world, and that's the thing about life. Somewhere in this world, somebody is living a life that you can't even fathom. And on both sides, what you mean is that someone is living an extremely terrible life, bro. At my age now. Yeah, I made it to 28th year going. If I made it to November now, it will be the 29th. But on the other side, somebody is living an extremely balling life, bro. At that age, perfect health and all these stuff. Perfect everything, bro. And it's like you have to be like, oh my god, bro. And it's preaching about equality and all this stuff. But is it it's possible, bro. As for you, it's actually possible actually to get that perfect life, bro. My phase in life now, how I'm feeling, it's hard to actually tell. It's hard to actually tell. I made a lot of progress make to achieve the dream, but I am only human, as they say. So we can only reach so far at this stage. You know, basically what this episode is, and going to 2025, if I recall more episode, the thing is that the main thing I'm speaking about is shelf life. Like for example, you're out here trying to sell stuff and all these stuff. And what I realized buying stuff, where I'm from, and then not only where I'm from, not only where I'm from, is a actual thing now. But what happens that now with shelf life and all these stuff, you make up for you are fixing stuff. I'm out here trying to fix stuff. And what you're going to realize is that nothing is better than the store. That is actually the basic going to be the basic message. Like nothing going to be better than the source. And it's like you're going to OTS to go. And and the next thing, yeah. And speaking about source, thing as well. I say a lot of stuff I want to speak about this year. Nothing is better than the source, bro. But it, so boom, talking about shelf life. So what and sprinkling is. So what means that your OTS are using up all these stuff and you're making it. So the way to compound all the knowledge that I've mentioned this year, previous year into this year, is that shelf life. You have things like buying stuff on higher purchase and all these things, and reaching this far and all these stuff. Like legit, the we call it like swapping out, getting rid of the old and buying the new. Legit, that is at this phase now. It's at this phase in your richness. That is the best thing. Like legit, getting removing the old, buying the new, and it's like doing that. It feels away because it's so unnatural. It's so unnatural. Like, to me, it feels so unnatural. But just getting rid of the old and buying the newest thing, and then just constantly repeat that. And what will happen is that you're going to reach a point where the refurbished stuff that you would buy becomes sellable. And then the next thing is now is you have to get used to just actually throwing the stuff that is actually old, or using it to its max and then just throwing it away. But just know that certain stuff is not usable and all this stuff. But this year of the episode is actually just shelf life is actually the thing, and that is for everything. Like boom, reaching the fifth year own ownership, I realize that you know more and doing this work, this aviation work and stuff like that, you're going to realize that's something that I realized in, like, for example, the hotel industry or something like that. Like, I haven't been there already, but I've gone there as a guest. And I actually realized something. So I mentioned it before in a earlier episode. That boom, you're born into a I'm going to mention it now. Boom, you're born into a family of something, family of robbers, killers, family of lawyers, doctors, um, family of Christians, family of that and all these stuff. Family of something. Coming from a family of something. So there are certain skills. There are certain skills. And then what happens is that boom, you have the perfect talking about boom, 19 first born 1931, made all these pushes, and then you were born now in 1996, or you were born in 2025. So what happens is that you were born with all the obstacles to break due to the obstacles that a person in 1932 broke and then remade in 2025. So what does that mean? If you listen to the episode out there, no, I'm talking about in 2025, I'm speaking as Colin Smith Brooks. And it's like, there was a point in time when that is not my name, but actually just roll with it now. Actually roll with it now. And that's the thing about life, boom. Speaking about my grandmother and stuff like that, she started out with a name and with a ended with a name as well. And that's the thing, it's like, this episode is like, the 2025 episodes, bro. Wish I could recall many of them, bro. It would be so nice, bro. Like, the power in the name, bro. Like, I speak about you come from a family or something, like, the last name, the last name is, back in the, bit back in the days, this street, but it becomes relevant now. It's like, back in the days, like, the last name could have actually, they actually mention it sometime when I actually see, but that's weird. Like, your last name just basically does have a reference to what you are. Right? It's like, I say, oh, Smith or Smith. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're you're that occupation or what, or that person. Like, there's a connotation that's basically just attached to you. And what happens is that, say you want to become, so now I'm actually, I say, out here on your science journey and all these stuff. You don't just wake up and become a scientist or theoretical physicist and all those. You have to go to, well, art doctor, all these stuff. Well, you have to go through the phases and all these things. But, one of the things that I realized that, the power in the name and, the obstacles you have to actually be breaking through, like, obstacles in the name, like, you have to actually just accept it, all these stuff, the name calling and all these stuff. And it's be like, you have to just, you, you, you have to sit down and understand why those things and why those things are out, are actually real, are actually wrong. And what do I mean by that? Boom, 2020. So you listen to this recording in 2025. Oh my God, college, Smith Brooks with a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Science, and all these stuff. And it's like, oh my God, you know. But where I'm from is basically still the same person that I was back in where I'm from. There's the same name. I go back the same name that I grew up with. You know, some people call me Colin, and it's like some people call me that, or Percy Brown, or stuff like that. You're listening to, when you go to the university level, you're meeting people that, doctors and all this stuff. If you do that in the customer service industry, you'll be like, oh my God, bro, I work so hard to become doctor this and doctor that, bro. And it's like, so you must call me that and all this stuff. And that is higher mighty and all. And, it's relevant at that second when I just said it. But then you have a situation like me when actually I went to my grandma's funeral, and she made a family of doctors, lawyers, programmers, and all these stuff. But she just ended up passing away as grandmother. maybe, maybe it's Campbell and all. Maybe it's whatever. So she did all these accolades, but she just ended up like that. And it's like, it's just one of those things where, you actually achieve the dream. I'm out here, doctor, this and that and that. But at the end of the day, bro, you're going to be like, oh my god, what up? Yeah, the question is, bro, like many things. What they're gonna see at your funeral, bro. You're gonna be like, oh my god, Colin, bro man, Smith Brooks, Colin, bro man, Smith Brooks. That's basically our bro man Smith. It's like that's the thing going into this year, 2025, where like the thing of mortality kicks in out here. You're feeling the mortality out here. I got the life insurance things setting up and all these stuff. I'm out here so wanting to drive and all these stuff, but literally health is well, we speak about health is wealth, bro. Health is not on our side, bro. So it's like you have to take your time, feel like you're enjoying these stuff, but you have to just keep on doing these stuff to extend your life or extend the life span. Investing in life insurance, health insurance, and all these stuff to actually come in and try to. And speaking about health insurance stuff like that, and actually I got it, and what I realized was that when I actually got it, there was a point in time I actually went to the doctor and I couldn't use it. And that was something that I realized was that you always go to the dentist and dentist say, "Oh, I recommend that you actually get your teeth cleaned every 6 months and stuff like that." This is why in the first part I was speaking about, there's a where I think there's a version of life people are living a life that you can't fathom in the sense of both sides. Like I think there's a version of reality where the limit where you don't go on and that's where I'm talking about Richard versus poor and stuff like that. Come in and say like there's a version of reality that you're so poor that the dentist just to keep you happy just have to say I recommended that you visit us every 6 months and stuff like that. But on the other side, there's a person with unlimited resources that basically just can have clear teeth forever, bro, or stuff like that. And the same thing with every health stuff where we have the both sides where like a doctor will come in and say, "Oh, I recommend that you do stuff like that." Or the new the thing will say, "Blood keeps the doctor," and stuff like that. All these simple sayings that they say, blood ache, all these stuff that they're saying, and you feel that they are a joke, but they are a real thing. And why they are a real thing was that I realized trying to use the health card to actually clean my teeth and getting it rejected was that resources are limited. So you can't just you come in out with these stuff like crying about rich or poor and stuff like that. I talk about the time of abundance and a time of shortage and all these stuff. There, there's a point where a person is living a life that they can't even follow on both sides. Like there's a time you're out there see him living a life and you're like, oh my god, bro, you're out there balling, bro. Then there's another time you're out there seeing and it's like, oh my god, bro, what in the world? like literally, you see. And what I realized is that the push for equality is not as simple, bro. Not as simple as it seems. Out here, so wishing that there's people living a life that you can't, and that's basically the thing about this episode. People are living a life that they can't even fathom, but it takes time to actually understand how complex that life is. And this is one of the things that basically reached my limit where I say that could be one of the reasons where I talk about. getting the insurance thing rejected for the cleaning is that you know there could be a reason why they when a doctor goes they recommend that you floss and all those stuff. But there are people out there that you couldn't hold a floss. So they recommend that you brush your teeth at least twice a day and stuff like that. But things are upgraded. So that compared to shelf life and all these stuff. There are people out there so shelf life and all these stuff. There's limits to things. There are limits to stuff. And you're out there so there each level of richness there's a limit, and then you have to actually just change it up to actually switch the limit. And when you switch the limit, it's going to feel so weird. It's going to feel unnatural. But when you actually take the time to actually understand, then you kind of understand. It's not maybe you find the answer is like you actually get out of people and be like, oh, maybe that's why you always hear that. That's the reason why you always hear that. So, like for example, why the car stop work and stuff like that. Or why? Oh, you're reading the card and stuff like that. We're like, oh, maybe that limit is because that's the monthly limit or something like that. And that's the thing you learn as you go. Oh, maybe that's a monthly limit. So that's the reason why they say okay, every 6 months or stuff like that. And all these things. So it's like those things you actually learn over time. Right? It's like, oh, that's the reason why that is happening. So it's like that's the thing about life where people are living a life that they can't even fathom on both sides. And the thing about life is that you can't compare it. You can't go there and try to compare it. You compare it because you don't know what it takes to live that life. You don't know what it takes to live that life. And it's like, yo, just chilling all the time. Like, oh my God, bro. You know, but you're actually coming on to live that life you're there. So thinking like, wow. So, that's a complex thing. Oh, there are these lot of episode things I want to say in this episode, bro. I'm gonna see if I can actually find it to actually say all this stuff I'm out here. So I want to say on these episodes, bro. So the next thing is, in this episode, so boom, we're talking about trying to last long, boom, grandma's 90 years compared to my would be if I reach November 29th year. So it's like one of no, let's say what riches was my grandma was a great Jesus for her and all these stuff. And one of the thing that I realized was so I spoke about the health card and like the thing trying to go to the dentist and actually coming and going to the dentist and getting it rejected and all these stuff. One of the stories that she always tell me was that back in the day she would just every paper that just basically every Bible page she would take it up. Every Bible page she would take it up and all these stuff. I know. And she studied the Bible every day till the family take it up every day and becomes a ritual and all these stuff. And it's like, at this point in 2025, it's not the funny thing is that it's like it's a part of me not in a different way. But the what the what I what why that lesson is important was that she spoke about going through if you see the house and stuff like filled with a lot of Bible stuff out there, other stuff, have her gospel station and all. But she always also catch up on news. So you will feel that she is some big Christian worshiper that was out there. That's only thing she care about Jesus stuff like that. But she also catch up on the news and stuff like that. But Jesus was her main thing coming up in her time. That was her thing coming up in her time. Jesus was her thing coming up in her time. That was her specialty. That was her. So that's the thing. You also have people big lawyers, that kind of stuff like that. Her specialty was that's all she knew, the Bible and all that stuff. So when actually I listen to remember one of her stories, one of the things was that she always talking about how she would like pick up every Bible paper and all those stuff. And what I talk about is secure resources, not scarce, is that, and people living a life that you can't even fathom, is that maybe in her time. So boom, I have YouTube now. I actually try the free, and this is the next thing I talk about. The one of the things I will mention this year is that try the premium version of the apps that you like. That's another lesson to come out of your richness. So you're making income now and stuff like that. And you're out here, so like you're listening to me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and stuff like that. Try the premium version of the Apple Podcasts or Spotify and stuff like that. See if you actually like it. Because there's so many features about the premium features and you're making income now. So what happens is that if you actually like it for a month, then you will be like, okay, I'll add that to my budget to invest in. And that's the thing about stuff. You're out there, so investing in certain stuff that the average person would call stupid. Oh, why are you invested in YouTube Premium or Spotify Premium now or all these stuff? No. But at this point in time, you're actually making income. You're there for making income. So it's stupid to a person back then, but you're actually making income now, you're adult. So it's like, you make your stupid decision, you live by your stupid decision. But the thing is, you reach a point where you could actually make that stupid decision. So speaking about the thing about my grandmother and stuff like that, the Bible and stuff like that. Coming from her time, she could just hear about Jesus and come from her. She could just only hear. And that's the thing I know about time when you're talking about 1932 or way back when. Way before you're talking about way before no, I'm 2025. Way before then. What happened is that the fight for freedom and all these things. So boom, like no, certain privileges that you consider luxury were so scarce but then were so scarce but then that you know we out there taking it for granted. No. So boom, I'm speaking to you in 2025. I have a credit card and all these stuff. But if you listen to the episode, there were a point in time where I didn't have it. But now I have it now and it becomes the norm and stuff like that. So there was a point in time where my grandmother never, maybe, or the family never knew about Jesus or stuff like that. Boom, I really knew about it. It was so scarce. It was so scarce. You will get the luxury that you have now. The luxury or whatever thing. You're out there, so the luxury of the stuff that you're out there so getting now. And it's so scarce. Even with me and science or whatever. Or with the gaming stuff. Or whatever. You're the time of abundance and time of we call it shortage. Certain stuff that you take as privilege is a scarcity to others. So, like for example, it is to me take my time and figure out how to start a YouTube channel and have a um YouTube intro and all those stuff, and then slowly I would actually be going into the Twitch streaming and all these stuff, trying to make an income doing the gaming stuff and all these stuff. But then you're out there to listening to me talking about the aviation industry and then now soon the hotel industry. And I'm like, why is that? Was because relating to that episode that I talk about, boom, my grandmother decided, oh my god, I'm going to be a great Jesus follower. I love Jesus so much. Oh my god. But in her time, in her time, it's not like you're getting a Bible or these things. Maybe it's not free like that and all those stuff. And what will happen is that the thing, so I'm talking about shelf life and stuff. This lesson of this year is that care for the things that you have. And that's actually the reason why I say that is because actually I broke older now. I'm breaking some of the plates, and it's going to relate to why. talk about the hotel industry and stuff like that. I broke some of the plates that I have, and I'm not out yet to reaching out to buy a plate like that as yet. But what the main lesson is that care for the stuff that you have, but there's a limit on the stuff that there's a limit. It can only be so much, then use so much, then it has no use again. And what do I mean by that? Oh, there's a care for you're born to a family, or you're born and you come in and like boom, you're growing up in Jamaica, and like, oh my god, things they call like Silverine and China. And if you're growing up and you'll be like, oh my god, don't break those stuff, don't break those stuff, and all these stuff. And all these stuff I'm out there growing up and seeing. But what going into the working world and actually going around seeing the hotel and all that and stuff like that, I realized that, oh my god, these stuff were actually stuff that they go and bought and bought. So it's like, why can't I use them? Why can't I use them? And why is that? Because it was so scarce in that time. And that's the thing, you're born, and you come in and you're not born and go into a house. And you see certain things so old, bro. So old. Like, oh my god, it's so old, bro. Oh my god, oh, that thing's so old, bro. What the hell is that thing so old? And is but it's not that it's old. If you actually took the time and found out what it is, you could actually find the use, maybe fix it. And when you fix it, talking about refurbished stuff, it would last long again if you fix it. But it will last long enough for you to understand what it is. So that when you actually find the real one, you'll be like, oh my god, this is what I actually need. This is where they actually get it. And I could actually purchase it. But when I purchase it, no. When I purchase it, no. I actually know what it is and I will care for it. I will care for it. And then what will happen now, speaking about having a child or daughter, when I have a child or daughter now, boom, I will become the person that said, oh my God, don't touch that, don't destroy that. But what was that? I grow old, I understand what the use of that thing that they, they, they work so hard to not make me break was used for. Then now I have a child now and be like, oh my god, he's so fragile and all those stuff. All this running up trying to break this stuff. No, bro, that thing costs an arm and a leg to actually get. Can't you having you out here to try and just run out trying to break this stuff? I don't made up money. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that's the thing where it's like you grow up in a family and what happens and that's the phase that I'm in now where actually understanding the use of the stuff. I'm using the stuff now to actually extend the life or making better decisions and reaching a limit. And you can use the stuff that the family has bought to its maximum potential and so much. And so that when you're working, you're out there not you're out there saving more than using. But what happens is that when you actually use the stuff in the home now and take your time, you actually, even if it doesn't last long, it lasts long enough for you to understand what the actual stuff is. Then when you actually go out and buy it, and be like, oh my god, you actually know what you're looking for now. Actually say, um, I'm looking. Oh, this is the reason why a clock was in the house. So what happens? That I grow up and see a clock in the house, and growing up, and to this day, that clock was still there at that grandmother's house. And if you listen to the podcast, I started this podcast in a basement, and that's the thing I talk about shelf life. And you're born into a family. So I spoke about last year. I talked about a hurricane came and destroy like trees and stuff like that. What happens is that say you were born in that hurricane. You come in and you see the finished product of what happened after that hurricane. You're coming in and you see the finished product of what happened in that hurricane. and you're out here so growing up in that reality. You're growing up in that reality where that that hurricane passed. And just like if you listen to my story, you always hear if you're growing up where I came from, it's like, oh my god, Hurricane Gilbert was the worst hurricane ever. All these have to be sweeping up broom and all these stuff. And then boom, there's a Hurricane Ivan where that actually tore down my grandma's roof and all those stuff. But the thing is, we are talking about perspective of experience and stuff like that. I'm in the 50th home ownership. When I was growing up, one of the things that I remember was there was a point in time where my grandmother's home had an attic. It had an attic. And me in 2025, I think if I, and that's the thing, where the way I was growing up, the way I speak about some stuff, people just call me rich and all these stuff. And what I realized is that certain stuff is not rich per se. It's just that proper proper planning prevents poor performance and stuff like that. But what will happen is that certain stuff that in 2025 you I will call it luxury. Oh my god, first world stuff. My family at one point were actually had these stuff. So what happened was we actually had something called I actually had would have an attic or something resembling an attic. But due to hurricane, actually, we had to change up how the house look and stuff like that. So you never know. The house that I mean now, or every home would just become in Jamaica would just become naturally have a attic and a basement. So what will happen now is that you heard about you listened to the story about the how Google was created or Apple was created by everybody in a garage and all those stuff. Boom, all of a sudden everybody in Jamaica have a garage. Everybody out here is making a business out of a garage. And what happens is that career the episode is like oh career is a luxury now. Everybody out here, so it's a self-made man out of the garage. Everybody out here so come from a house with a attic. And it's like wow. No, 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 no. All of a sudden, a garage billionaire is just walking down the street. And it's like, oh my god, no, no, it's not. But it's special. It's special for a reason. And and which leads to the next thing that I'm going to say now. I say there's a lot of things I'm saying now. And what is that? So boom, I'm speaking about the industry. And at this point I'm saying, oh my god, the work is so trash because I'm complaining and all these stuff. I always say that. But speaking about science and things like that, and speaking about things that growing up in the start, I'm looking up to Elon and all this stuff, going to Mars and all these stuff. We're looking to Elon going to Mars and all these stuff. And what you're going to realize is that the perspective of experience and don't compare yourself to others is that, and you're going to realize something where yeah, talking about brown people call me brown man and name calling and all those stuff. You each level that you break, you're going to realize that the people that you are competed with, and this is a level of inequality that you it is. I guess I would be bad or so, but it's something that actually makes things good or in certain sense is that you're going to realize that boom, I have a BSc now. I'm speaking as a person with BSc. And most of the things won't make sense. The average person will come in that does have a BSc. Maybe will kind of find it interesting. Or people with BSc, on my level will call it, oh my god, they just rambling and calling it stupid. A person with PhD will be like, oh my god, bro, he's so primitive, and he speaks so primitively. No, a person with a master would be like, oh my god, he speaks so primitive. But a PhD person would be like, oh my god, he's such a baby. and all those stuff and all the these things. And speaking about things I learned, career as a luxury at the start of episode about the complaining and all this stuff about my thought, my issue, but an issue that I have coming out to April 5 in 2025 by me complaining about that someone is right now figuring out my issue are looking at my issue and be like, oh my god, bro, it's such a baby, bro. Oh my god, bro, just do this. And the thing about the aviation, it's just work with it that, oh my god, I'm out there so going out crying about my issue. And they out there so calling it small problem. Small problem. But we talk about perspective or experiences that they would call it small for them. No, they will call it small for it will be small. It's small for someone like for me and him. Me and the person that just conversate and he just call my issue that I'm complaining about small. But you, the listener, know that even they make it to that far now, hear me speaking about that reaching, be like, oh my god, he reached that far. So I could actually reach that level. And that's it. That's the thing where it be like, yo, people would so you never know. All this working in the future, all this or you recording about my employee days in at Tesla, whatever Tesla Motors are working with stuff like that. And it'd be like what will happen is that, because I'm out here so reaching new levels and complaining about certain stuff, the my level of complaining puts me at the 1% of certain levels, but I'm at 99% of a different level. And what do I mean by that? So I spoke about career as a luxury, where I talk about boom out there. So the person that did the atom created the genome sequences and all these stuff. The genome sequences that made DNA. We actually reached that level with my degree. But just reached my level, you found out what happened is the story of if you go through. And next thing I want to mention as well. Yeah. Well, let's to that story. And I guess before I go into the story, I went to so doing this work, what I realized as well as a scientist, I understand the reason for grants. Why things like scientists are going out or research people, PhD or all this are actually reach for grants. You can't entrepreneur your way into science. That's something that I actually realize. You can't entrepreneur your way to science, and that I guess one of the things that graduating from you hear about my U experience and stuff like that. Graduating from university, I guess one of the I guess that's one of the basic level of understanding. Like why there were different faculties, why there's a faculty of business, why there's something called a business major, a science major, STEM major, and stuff like that. The step and why all of it is under one university umbrella. And then the next thing now, when you have the university umbrella now, you have very many universities. You have the University of West. No, so you have one university of the West Indies, but you have University of West Indies, Augustine, Mona, Western Campus, and all these stuff. But you have the one University of West Indies, which is accredited. But then you have UTech as well. You have UTech in my, say if you actually listen to it, you have UTech as well. So you have University of Technology. And what will happen is that if you're living in Jamaica, University of Technology is actually better for you job wise, because most of the stuff job wise is just basically UTech people. So you actually go to UTech actually more job ready than what you call it a U graduate. But a UE graduate, a University of West Indies graduate, that doesn't discredit a University of West Indies graduate. It just means that what the person at the University of the West Indies does is something fundamentally different than what UTech do. UTech is would University of Technology is more hands-on stuff, and University of West Indies is more theoretical. Theoretical. So what will happen is that these two things are separate, but you have to actually me now reaching this level, understand and respect both. I hate it like that, but I reach the level where I understand why they exist that way. That's where I'm at now in 2025. I understand now why U is more research based and U Tech is more applying applying what you learn based. So when you graduate from U Tech, you're more likely to be able to actually apply your stuff way more quickly than someone that do something in university, because what they're doing is more research based. You're out here of making hypotheses and all those stuff. You're out here so basically guessing your way. Guessing your way or imagining stuff. Imagining stuff. That's basically what you're doing as a youth graduate. So what will so I guess that's the next thing as a university graduate, our University of the West Indies graduate, I would tell you is that your time will come. It takes some time for your time will come. And why is that? Because your road to the level is fundamentally different than UTech. UTech is more applying base and stuff like that. And U is more research base, research and stuff like that. That's what I actually found. What I actually realized. It's actually more research stuff. And that's not on both of them. It's just that they are fundamentally different. They are fundamentally different. So I actually realized that you can't knock them both. But when I understand that level, actually I reach the basis now to know what which road you how to approach bro both. You know, you actually understand the reality. You actually respect both. I not actually respect both. You know, it would be like I understand why you exist now. So I have to actually just go and just take my time, put down my plaque, and just work with what the reality is now because I'm living in this country. And that's the thing where I be like, oh my god, I'm not just complaining. Why the hell do I have to go to the doctor to do a sick leave? And I was like, God, what? Structures. You were born into structures that were there. So to break the levels, you have to actually go through the process. So you can become the person that you're out there trying to reach. You're out there, so you have to break the levels to reach a person that you're out there so trying to reach and all these stuff. So it's like, yeah, is so that's one of the reasons why you hear me now in 2025 saying Colin Smith Brooks no and stuff like that. And it's like, people are there kind why is your name Brooks and stuff like that? Because what happened was that structures I recall the powers at B when I was younger, actually I just made a structure and I used that structure, failed at using that structure. So I had to live with the failure. I had to actually just come in and live with the failure. So it's like, every year. So that's why, when I started the episode now, you're talking about people, they call me bro man and stuff like that. I would just get, and if I become Dr. Smith Brooks, or if I go back to my original name and become, oh my God, my Dr. Smith or stuff like that, or whatever. At my funeral, will I just become Colin Broman? I was like, oh my god, rest in peace, bro, man. Rest in peace, bro, man. So that and that's the question. That's the question. And it's like, that's the not next level of freedom. And it's like, I'm complaining about person calling me bro, man. But you have people also calling India, and you have the slavery of the me. So and that's the thing now. Me, calling it me calling bro, man, and stuff like that. Suppose what is the thing now? Me calling the people that came out of slavery now. We out here so speaking about the the N word. No, it's like boom, boom, but it's like it it's it's a weird connotation of 2025 where you all weird connotation in 2025. OTS you want to travel and all these stuff, but there are realities. Boom, I have my degree and all these stuff, but if I go to what I still have to go to the doctor if I'm going to do my driver's license, I still have to go to the doctor to do a medical and all those, so to check my health and all this. So, with my degree and all these things, and it's like that is the reality, or is it? Or maybe it's not the reality, but I was just so primitive at the time that I did not even know. Or the next thing is, and that's where I'm talking about the problems that you're complaining about now you're in the 1 percentile of stuff that you're complaining about, but the 99 percentile of other stuff. Some out here so complaining, I have my driver's license and all those. Complaining about a driver's license. There is somebody right now listening to this thing and be like, oh my god, you out here you first world person with a degree complaining about having a driver's license after renew it. Now, in my country, we don't even have cars. I have to be walking like through the desert. I've been walking through the desert like forever, carrying water on my head and all these stuff. And it's like that is a reality, bro. That is the reality, bro. But there was a point in time that I did not have the license, bro. There was a point in time I did not have the license, bro. And even when I still have the license, bro, still have to do some walking, bro. I'm still doing some walking. I'm still doing some walking to this day, bro. It's like that's it's like that's the thing about 2025 about the OT. So reaching these levels, you're reaching these levels, and what you're going to realize is that the things that you out here so complaining about is um you you're the 99 percentile of certain stuff, but the 90 you're in the 1 percentile of certain stuff, but the 99 percentile of other stuff. And why do I say that? If you listen to one of my episodes before I got the credit card, I told you I mentioned the story about the church that accepted credit cards, and I went back to that church and used a credit card, but actually put me in debt for a while. But now I'm back in the game again. We're back in the game again. But I actually did it at a church. So what happens at that church accept cash and card and credit card. There's another level of a church now, as I speak, that takes only cash. No, wrong thing. That takes only card. And the next thing now is that there's still a church right now, and that's the reason why I mentioned the episode as well. Don't forget when you don't make the episode, don't um when you're seeing all these mansions, don't forget that don't compare to the little hut you build. You see me? Don't compare the mansion to the little hut you build, or don't despise the days of humble beginning. So I reached a level now where I so boom, I made that one purchase with the card at that church. Now there is a church now farming, or like a business farming now that can't even fathom and going paying for things using a credit card, much less cash. much less having money, much less having a Bible, much less having a page, much less having, much less having the ability to actually listen to this podcast and all these stuff. You would know that there's a church that actually takes card and all these stuff. There is that reality right now. And what happened is that I'm complaining about an issue now in 2025. That person now that have no access to even listen to my podcast found the podcast and be like, oh my god, I hit the Holy Grail, bro. I hit the Holy Grail. This person in 2025 complaining about this, bro. This person in 25 complaining about having an attic. Bro, I was living on the street, bro. And it's like, well, actually, well, my podcast, starting the podcast was influenced by somebody that came from the streets, bro. So it's like, but it's one of the funny things. One of the funny things. It's like, um, I I'm far in the podcast world. I'm far away from where I started. I actually have a mic now, and the reason why I talk about shelf life is that the mic I was started recording on my phone. I got a mic, but the mic is now getting old, just like the PC I fixed and everything, and I spoke about the phone. So the important thing I need to speak about was shelf life. Even when you upgrade and stuff like that, say boom, I upgrade and start doing videos, you'll be like, oh my god, his video quality is so terrible, his voice is so terrible, and all this stuff. Hear the water in the background if you can hear it, and all those stuff. But there was a point in time where you're only hearing crickets, bro. There were like many episodes that you were just like when I was playing the game when I just graduated to university. And every year, the the first bro be like, oh my god, the guy with the crickets, bro. Crickets in the background, bro. Crickets in the background, bro. Crickets in the background, bro. And it's like, you know, bro. Hey, we all came from humble beginnings, bro. But at the same time, so like, boom, I'm listen. So if you listen to the podcast, I hear people complain about some stuff, and I hear about the time when people complain about when we usually have bad internet, and I see people talking about one megabyte, please seed. So in graduate now, and I see the election and all this stuff. Then I see watching a YouTube video where I see homeless people basically living off YouTube stuff, talking about being homeless. When I didn't even have the ability to record or write it podcast episode or a YouTube episode and stuff like that. So it's like one of the things we're talking about this year is that your people are living a life that on both sides that you can't even fathom. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and career as a luxury. We have to speak about the fact that things people are complaining about no we're complaining about no, and it's like that's the thing where I'll be like, oh my god. Sometimes I want to come I am complaining, but I'm out here, so I have to be understanding that yo, I said this episode, bro, it just I wanted to do some very detailed episode on each episode and each, but I'm just gonna just be rambling for the whole time, bro. Speaking about all these stuff because it was a lot of stuff that happened in that last year. To me, actually make it to this year, bro. It's a lot of things that actually happened this year. So it's like I may not even get the time to actually record all these stuff again. So it's like yo, so so it's like so it's like you know So I spoke about time of abundance and time of shortage. So what will happen is that I'm out there so in my grandma's home watching the people out there so making a YouTube stuff of a person there trying to elect and trying to make money on it. But he was but I was at the time. I was at the time what you were calling unable to actually do anything. I was always a be like, oh my god, bro, I was so poor I couldn't even leave the house. Like legit, I had no internet. But in 2025, no, I changed to like postpaid and stuff like that. So I could actually have internet outside of my home. I could actually leave my home and have internet and so, but I do have a right phone. Sadly, the phone is not working. So I had the ability to actually do it to have internet outside of the home, but I do not have a we call it right phone. The phone does not work again. So it's like you're reaching new levels, but new level of problem. You have new level of problem. And it's like, yo, new level of problem. And it's like, oh my god, bro. And that's the thing we are speaking about. Invest in the premium version of a stuff. And then just to see what the premium version is. And then you'll be like, oh my god. Then eventually you start investing in it. Just like the podcast. Every end of episode here, so asking me for you to actually come in and put some money in it. So there's to listen to the podcast for fun. And then eventually you can just afford to invest in it. And all of a sudden I'm out here to see money coming into the account and be like, oh my god, when since a subscriber actually coming in and actually investing money? It was just me at the time. It was I went since I had listeners. Went since I had listeners and all these stuff. And it's like, oh my god. And it's like, yo. And it's like, stuff will eventually eventually stuff will just be coming up. And it's like, yo, the person just listening and be like, oh my god, this person was on in the basement yesterday, and I'm listening to him the 5th year home ownership. What in the world happened? What in the world happened? And he start listening, and he eventually say, oh my god, uh, um, I don't have any internet where I'm at now, so I have to actually go and download the episodes and then go home and watch listen it 1 second at a time. Like no, for example in 2025 now I'm out here so getting I made the few interview stuff. And then now I'm out here so getting a lot of email about people out here so wanting me to interview them. But the interview that actually was creating was just people that I actually wanted to do interviews with. So it's like, to do interview people with random people now, it's not easy like that. Like, sit down, actually learn about the person and actually do stuff like that. It's not impossible. But I have to actually change up how I did it just to actually get it done. But if I actually get it done, I will get more bad podcast thing. But there was a point in time where I was even scared to even start a podcast. Much less a guest. Now there are guests out there so trying to get me to interview with them and all these stuff. And it's like, oh my god, bro. New level unlock. New level unlock. So it's like, yo, stuff, bro. Yo. Lot of stuff, bro. Lot is stuff out here. So, not real. Lot of stuff. Lot of stuff out here. So it's like legit. There's a lot of stuff out there. So, trying to record, bro. Hmm. Yeah. So I guess this year, guess the next thing is, bro. Actually reap some potatoes again from my backyard. So what I did now, actually, I reap the potatoes and then actually re-eat them. So I'm use them and then replant them. So what will happen is that actually I reap some. If actually listen to the early episode, actually I got some more tomatoes from the house again, and there are more tomatoes coming in. So what I'm doing now this year is actually do some random planting, bro. So you would actually come in and say, "Oh, what are you doing?" So we call it. So what happens actually in the farming world now? Actually found out how to that stuff can come up, that things can be planted and be repacked and get fruits and all these stuff or get plant. But I don't know if I can get it consistently. I know when they come up. So what I do now is plant randomly. So I know when to plant now, when it's the perfect time to plant. But I can't tell until the other year if it's going to come up or not. But what happens is that the other year when it comes up, it actually get save me money and I get more from it than before. So it saved me money and groceries to actually buy those stuff. And I actually come in and make more and then what will happen is I talk about time of abundance and time of shortage. So boom, I'm out and career as a luxury. So boom, everybody out there is doing farming, basic skills, food, shelter and clothing. So everybody out here is focusing on getting food, shelter and clothing until food, shelter, and clothing becomes a luxury. And our basic food, shelter, and clothing becomes a luxury. Then we can actually just do fancy food now. We're basically out here so doing the fancy meal, and then what? Fancy meal now becomes a luxury again. The fancy meal does become a luxury. And what do I mean by the fancy meal becoming a luxury? I guess yeah, I know what I'm just gonna talk about. Yeah, I'm gonna spend the whole day talking about it. So and shelf life. Yeah, I'm gonna speak about the shelf life and university experience. So boom. I'm out here so doing this work. And boom, I actually meet a female and all these stuff. Talking and all these things. And boom, she can maybe listen it as well. I'm like, oh my gosh, she is the female. But yeah, like that. But that relates to shelf life. So boom, you're out here so praying and get praying for the thing that you're out here. So praying for the home, praying for a home. So you get the home. And what I realized is that so during my university days, you're out here so trying you were a point in time that you could not get a home. So when you reach the university level, reach university, you have abundance of woman or abundance of guy just like me that maybe could get the woman in high school, but you reach university level and could get the woman, perfect woman for you. So you reach pass through the nerdy years and you reach heaven, bro. You reach heaven, bro. You see a girl that is more nerdy than you, bro. At the stuff that you like. And it's like, oh my god, bro. Oh my god. So boom. Now talk about the 30-year experience and shelf life. So boom, you get this girl. Boom, I talk about the 30 experience and get the girl. And what happened is that oh this I get the girl and what I talk about and it makes it relates to my fifth year of ownership is growing up I was very small, skinny. I would be like, oh my god, skinny person that attracted the a more bigger woman and all these stuff. And it's like I guess the problem wasn't the issue going through experience in life. No, the issue is not the bigger woman. No, is when you actually living going to the space with that you're not rich. You're not rich. So if you actually go to my university now, you see the limited bed space, and that's the thing we're talking about different levels of rich and different levels of stuff. Now in my year now my best piece. If the person now were to actually come in now and go and buy my bed now, and that experience now with the bed was that there you was at that point in time someone that found finally got my single woman out here so living the sleep life. That experience with the woman showed me that oh my god, you know why there are some where there are different bed size where there are queen size bed, king size bed, and all these stuff. And why is that, and why I listened that my grandmother always told me that oh my god, which she always say you were the only person that came into my married bed and all these stuff was And we talk about career as a luxury, as something as a luxury. You you're coming from a poor family or poor family. So boom, something like a bed could be a luxury. So me complaining about, oh my god, I'm sleeping with this girl that is somewhat oversized, and what happens that the bed space is actually not as big as can hold. So my comfort in sleeping in a bed was going away. There's someone right now that they even have a bed, bro. So it's that and I know they're sleeping now. So it's like so it's like the two sides of this two sides of the coin where it's be like I, I'm a person out here, so I always the dichotomy of life where out here, so I want to upgrade and see the different side of life, see the richer life, I see the richer life. But when you actually start, and that's the thing we're talking about, um, crab in a bar. So you out here, so want to go and experience the richer life, and that experience we're talking about, boom, third year. So that third year experience with the girl, she was big. So what? Then a lesson we talk about from there, which applied in real life, was that even though that girl messed up my third year for perform, I it's not me inadvertently messed up my third year performance. It was, I came in with the game plan, and the game plan was that at the school otherwise. Game plan was that, but that was the lesson. That was an important lesson, was that when she came in on the bed and we were there so sleeping together, what that lesson that applied to me now in real life working in aviation industry made me realize hotel, why a certain hotel is have for we call it, why in airline you have first class, economy, business class, why in bed you have um king size, low size, and all these stuff, and why in hotel you have like penthouse. I don't really remember that. But yeah, penthouse and different views and stuff like that. You're paying for the experience. You're paying for the experience. So it's like you're starting from somewhere, and why a certain hotel or a certain or airline or whatever or customer service thing, why in everything there's a certain level attached to it where we like, oh my god, why University of West Indies cannot say because I actually in 2021 I took a picture and all this stuff, and I see some book graduation book from 2021, and then I say I apparently actually graduated in 2018 and stuff like that. And man, it's like saying, you know, from 2018 till now, we have been leading in this, and we have been the top 5 percentile and stuff like that. So every year they have been actually improving and stuff. And why? Because something that I actually do. I must say, what happens when I speak about the next thing is that the things that I'm complaining about, that I'm mentioning, I'd be like, oh my god, so primitive will be so revolutionary to me. Another person from another faculty at the same use be like, oh my god, this is basic stuff. This is basic 1, 2, 3 that we were taught. But I actually regurgitate it because I actually like it. But shelf life, shelf life, like that experience with the girl be like, yo, and living no, and living in the fifth year, reaching the fifth year of home ownership. Why? Boom, you're growing up in a home, and things like a dresser. I'm looking at a dresser now, and if you reach this level of sophistication, you can look at a dresser and be like, oh my god, this is wood that was carved from a tree and build compartments made with some nails and all these stuff and all these stuff. So a person from UTech with those space can go out and build a new can go out, or who went through my if they went through my high school. If they went to my high school, they could actually build a dresser and sell it to me. But a dresser isn't cheap. But what happens when I speak about shelf life and refurbished stuff, and what I realized in this house was that the stuff that I see in the house, the stuff that I see in the house was that they have a certain, even the most quality stuff have a shelf life. And if you take the time to look at it enough, you can break it down to what the item is and then see the shelf life of it, so that when you actually go out and buy it, you understand why is that a quality brand. Why is it that that now I understand now why they go in and buy furniture. Being the why being the why purchasing cedar wood is the upper echelon thing now to do it. And why the upper echelon thing to do is buy a cedar wood or stuff like. But at the same time, when you buy the upper echelon thing, cedar wood, you're actually investing in the person that made the cedar wood to go out and say, okay, there's actually something better than the cedar wood. So thanks to you investing in buying the cedar wood, I could actually go out and find something better now and spend more money and buy something better. Buy something better than the cedar wood and put it on the market, which you won't able to afford, but it would be out there possible to show you that okay, it's possible, but um, but the it's possible, but it's not cheap to use. So that's the reason why you have things like annual iPhone releases or Samsung each. Why you go to and speaking about the customer service experience and be like, oh my god, I talking on a podcast. You have 10 million podcasts. So why would you listen to me? All those stuff. But the 10 million airline or 10 million aviation or 10 million customer service, why would you come to my customer service? You're a bubble in a big you're a bubble in a big thing. You're a bubble in a big thing. And it's like you're what happened is that you can't afford those luxury brands. And that's why I things like tech reviews and stuff like that. You can't afford those luxury brands, but they can take the time to actually um understand why certain this, you understand why. So boom, I want you to trying to fix the phone. What next is that why the source is the best. Why is how the best thing to do is actually buy from the store, buy from the buy from the brand itself. You know, but you understand why you understand as a science person now, you understand why there are different distribution brands, why there are distribution brands and all those stuff. I understand why there are different distribution brands, but at the same time, you understand why the source is always it's actually best to actually go to the person that made it and say, okay, I'm purchasing this stuff and all these stuff. You actually, but at the same time, you can't just always do that. Just like you're listening to this podcast. After I started out podcasting, one of the first podcast, and I'd be like, oh my god, I could not even fathom living the life that he could. But I reached the point where I could actually buy his book. But I have no time to actually read it, bro. But I could buy the book. I invested in his stuff. I could actually read it. I mean, I actually read it. And he always say just buy the book because buy the book. Because right now I really have time to watch him. No, but if you actually buy the book and read it, all the stuff that he was saying was in the book. So it's like if I actually buy the book and read it, it would actually come in and have everything that you out here. So
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
These stuff. Uh, yeah. Yeah, man, come. Yeah. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, yeah. Nothing that I want to record this. But yeah, 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 yeah. Enough stuff that this one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, yeah. So, yeah. More stuff to actually record, bro. Okay, so the next thing is so yeah, so I'll speak about that. Yeah, so I'll speak about that. Next, yeah, so this time now I'm out here. So okay, so now I'm out here, so making some purchases. So I talk about last year. I made some purchases of some cards. Of some cards, and it's like yo, yeah, I made some purchase of some cards, bro. And it's like the next thing I mentioned was with shelf life. So it's like in actually I went to the store and actually see various cards. I talk about the source is always the best, and source is always the best. These things, the source is always the best, and all these things. And it's like we out there so doing the making the so out there so buying the cards, and yeah, different version of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You have things like so. I'm saying more days I'm trying to do the YouTube and all these stuff, YouTube and Twitch and all these stuff. And I made some purchases, and I said these things are obvious, but you're going to. I said these things are obvious, like what, like obvious, but are not obvious, but you're going to. I guess you have to actually go to experience and understand why it's so obvious. But when it understand it, is that you're gonna make some purchase and you're gonna try like I bought some so boom. So, so I spoke about the time where all these people out here talking about com- billionaire coming from the basement, who was starting in the basement and all those stuff, and careers are luxury. And then I start. There's a point in time where there's a people have a attic, or stuff like that, and time of abundance and time of shortage. So now in 2025, now if I were to buy something that I love, which was like, for example, which I loved was Supergen. But when I was growing up, it was so big. I could the big one was so big that I couldn't drink it. But the small one was so perfect. The box one was so perfect. I could actually just drink it and enjoy it. But I'm at the age now where I or I reach and there's another level where I could, when they buy that same Suffragan, that tin big tin Suffragan, I could actually drink it. I could actually drink it, but then I could actually drink it, but it's like you I could drink it went away. That big thing, that big thing Suffragan actually just went away, and then I just see the small version of the thing. And what was that happening is that so there's a purchasing that I would hear people complain, oh my god, I remember the days when the big thing was actually so big and all these stuff. And then now I'm in 2025 now I'm be like, yo, what if I was to drink the big thing? What if the big subject and the big thing in subject were to come back in 2025? Like, would it be the same like back in the days? Would I enjoy it the same? Because you know the issues I'm complaining about in 2025 now. Like, will I enjoy it the same? Or would I be smart enough to understand why if I actually got the big thing now and I would be smart enough to know why the small thing now is the thing that they use now. And then when I find out the reason why, and that's the thing where people complain about stuff like me. You're growing up with certain stuff, and then all of a sudden those stuff change, and it's like it's a complaint, but there's a reason why they changed it. And then when you find the reason doesn't basically stop the doesn't make help, but you just know that, oh, but now you understand the reason now. So when I was offspring and whatnot, we're like, okay, this is the new reality now. But and then days are coming like, oh my god, talking about back in the days, bro. Talking about back in the days, bro. Yeah, back in the days. Yeah, we could always talk about back in the days, but yo, it's a new reality now for your convenience. For your convenience. And that's basically the episode for this series. Like, I guess I reached that level where a certain convenience, that's basically the 2020 25th year. Basically, I mean, just exploring the going through the stuff you buy into a family, they made a lot of purchases. And understand it will take forever to actually go through all the stuff that they use. Just to understand it, just to actually reach a level. Just to understand it, just to actually reach a level to get to find the use of it. When you find the use of it, when you find the use of it, then you basically be like, oh, it becomes a luxury. And speak about health insurance and stuff like that. But you have certain rich country and all this stuff both complain about why like inequality and I spoke about insurance and why it's that area be like, oh my god, why that dentist would have say something like recommend be like, oh my god, better you clean your teeth every 6 months. Or there's another reality where there's a whole team of doctors that don't basically do everything that do a different kind of thing every day to actually save a teeth, keep it healthy forever and all those stuff. There are two different reality. I actually forgot what I was going to say. I actually forgot what I was going to say. Mhm. That was something real good. Actually, I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, they were, yeah, actually, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah. So what happened is that, why certain countries know, and why it's backfiring now. So certain countries know why certain things were happening. Why, and this is the dichotomy of life where you'll be like, where people talk about back in the good old days. So I always compare the thing to when my grandma's always say, back in her days, and why sometimes every time she say back in her days, see, she's usually right, and all those. So compared to, what would happen is that, boom, certain things like over the counter drugs. At drugs now, what will happen is that you'll be smart enough and be like, oh my god, everybody have basic reading level now. Everybody out there can read and use a drug. And then all of a sudden, so let read a drug that now was, so boom, we have a like thing like coronavirus pandemic. Boom, everybody out here is masking up, hand sanitize now. So, and then now masking just and luxury. Masks were there before. Masks were used by doctors and all these stuff. Washing hands were a thing now. But Corona just made the washing hands just 10 times more, 10 times more, and sanitizing 10 times more. But what happens that the rich people, they when they go out and shake people and they hand sanitize and all these stuff. And so all these stuff are actually luxurious stuff. Are luxurious stuff to the rich that basically become norm to the public. And then what means that, when it become norm to the public, like 10% would actually take it to heart and just use it. And they become the 10%, become the 1% that basically do that for the rest of their life with their family. So the same thing now with drugs now. With drugs. You out here, so boom, you out here have some drugs. And what means that, these drugs were limited, limited to only certain few. Then something happens, bro. And they have out here to make it to the public. And everybody knows the use of that drug now. And everybody out there so be like, oh my god, this drug is the thing that's gonna save my life. And it's because it saved the life, and for a generation be like, oh my god, we know what the use of that drug is now. So let me just make it over the counter, so when this problem arises, the average person can go to the shop and just buy that thing. Then no, reaching 2025 or something like that, we think have something like a fentanyl problem, or you have alcohol overdose and all these stuff. Like, what will happen is that a generation ago, and that's the thing that got to me, I'm like, a generation ago, or a year ago, we were smart enough. The generation before were smart enough to say, okay, this is not the right way to do it. But because we were so smart to be like, oh, it's not the right way to do it. No, everybody is out there so doing it. And that's why you have things like, boom, something like cannabis. Cannabis is a herb that grows, and all of a sudden it's banned. Because what? Overuse. Or all these stuff. So boom, I learned all those stuff in university, and then come out in the real world. And it's out there saying select few and all these stuff. And it's like, all these funny stuff. All these funny stuff that they all just learn. And what happens is that, yeah, you reach a point where you understand why. You understand why, like, why it's a complex thing. It's a complex thing. So there's a smoking herbs and thing, and it's like, oh my god, smoking herbs. Like, you will say something like, oh, because I'm at a university level now, and I know I was taught about herb cannabis, means that in the real world I can just, oh yes, go out and smoke weed, bro, and all these stuff. Or pop pills and all these stuff. But you did what happened is, when I talk about career as a luxury, if everybody have a base, if everybody have a BS in science, or my knowledge that I've garnered in in uh in science, that's basically become the luxury now. Everybody like, oh my god, everybody know you're not special now. You're just basically you know. And it's like, oh my god, you're not special now. You're just basically you know. Whole generation be like, oh my god, can't believe back in the days they usually ban cannabis. I'll be like, oh my god, can't believe that back in the days, bro. They usually ban cannabis, bro. This a herb, bro. It's a herb. Oh, because what? The whole natural selection and all these stuff and all these things just come in and be like, oh my god, you think that was foreign to back in the days, foreign back in the days, become luxurious now. So why are and the same thing with buying brands. So boom, buying this relates to the next time we'll talk about university experience now. We talk about yes, I'm working on all these stuff. And I have the chance now to so in the university days you have things like I talk about marketing. Things like they will give things like condoms, free condoms, and I'll be like, but that free pizza tickets. And I'll be like, oh my god, free pizza tickets. Yeah, buy one get one free tickets. And it's like and it relates to things where my grandmother spoke about and and issues. And it'd be like, back in her time growing up, big Jesus color and all these stuff. Back in her time, just finding a page of Bible was worth gold. So boom going to university now they would give us like a pack of these condoms. And what I talk about shelf life and stuff. So boom we out here so trying to prevent unwanted pregnancy and stuff like that. They give us that free condom. And it'll be like, oh my god, that condom prevents prevents the ability to catch a STD or a virus. But it's not the best brand if they will go to compare the different brand and all those stuff. But hey, that is better than having no brand. I'm going in raw with someone you don't know and all these stuff and all this stuff. The same thing, well that's not the thing that I don't really talk about. The thing I talk about was the tickets. So boom, which if you feel ownership is that buying pizza and all those stuff. We get this bag of tickets and a bag of free tickets and be like, oh my god, I could go out and spend money and buy pizza, bro, and buy one get one free and all these stuff. Back in the days, bro, I wasn't making bank like that. Just go out and buy pizza every day, and that's the reason why they're different. I could not go out and buy pizza every day, bro. But now in my working years, if I actually just think about it, I could go out and buy pizza every day. So things like I would watch basketball. I watch him when he LeBron. I did not LeBron coming out of high school. I but the chosen one. I know you have talk about Tuesday and all. Next thing you know, me and my family out here so having pizza Tuesday and speaking about cooking up pizza Tuesday and all those foolish stuff. Those foolish stuff like that. Yeah. But those are levels that you unlock working now, where you slowly things that were small become normal, normal, and then the next year it becomes a luxury. So what be like, oh, you have like a taco Tuesday or something like that. Like, oh my god, next year be like, oh my god, we're gonna have a taco week. We're gonna have like 10 years ago, I didn't even know what the hell was a taco, bro. I know I'm out here so, but having Taco Tuesday and all these stuff. So yeah, all these stuff are possible now in 2025, bro. Have a Taco Tuesday or a Pizza Tuesday and all those foolishness, bro. Have a Burger Tuesday. But at the same time, you have health, health stuff and all this. So it's like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen in 2025. Like, enough episodes I could record. Like, oh, I guess the next thing I'm gonna talk about, yo, is boom. I mentioned as well, Marcus Garvey's pardon. Oh my gosh, one of the heroes, bro. He was out there pardon. At the time when I heard the news, I would have something very sophisticated to say. But no, it just, oh my god, he's pardoned. He's a free man. So one of our heroes now is actually free, bro. Yeah. So speaking about Marcus pardon and stuff like that, yeah. So boom, Vibes Cartel is released and all these stuff, free roaming the world, free traveling the world. And I bought his ticket and I could not actually reach the event. But what happened was that having that ticket actually, speaking about boom, we did it fundamentally different. Actually, I have time to actually read the ticket, and I guess I understand now why last year, or not last year, maybe the year when I actually bought a ticket, actually going to regular Sumfest as a guest, as a viewer, where I was basically not able to go into the venue when I actually leave it because I actually read this new. So I was not able to go to the West Cartel Freedom Street event, but I was able to read this ticket and understand now why when I went into the Reggae Songfest venue, I was not able to experience maybe Tamale actually at the time. I could not experience Tamale at the time because that is in Jamaica where that is so wide. When I go into the event, I cannot leave the event. But I will be smart. I will be rich enough to when I buy the ticket, I could actually buy food and stuff. Because that was the next thing now. It's like I could that year I could buy the ticket and go into it to the event. But if I actually stayed in the event, I would be so hungry I couldn't even afford not to eat and all those stuff. So now this year because I've invested, I bought the next Vibes Freedom. I had the time to actually read the ticket and understand why now I was not able to actually go into the event. Why I was kicked out of the event in that time. Like that's the rule that they do. That's the rule now that they actually do. When you actually go into the event, you can't leave the event. But at the same time, yeah, 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 enough stuff. When you actually going to the event, you actually can't leave the event. But at the same time, where I talk about there's level to these stuff. When you actually going, maybe this time now, so boom, maybe this time now, if I actually go and buy something ticket now, I'm going now as a viewer, I could actually afford to actually go there, actually enjoy it as a viewer and all these stuff. Actually be more smarter. But I will see from a different angle again. I'll be more different. I'll be like, oh my god, oh yeah, this is it now from this angle. Then boom, then maybe next year see me go look at it from a different angle again. But that was buying that ticket gave me the time to actually read it and actually understand that that's the reason why you I was kicked out of that. I could not go back in because on the ticket it, it says that when you actually enter the venue you cannot leave the venue. So that's basically certain stuff the lesson is that just when you buy a concert ticket, if you're going to a concert you have to actually learn to read. If you're going to a concert you have to actually learn to read because those information actually just come in and say, oh yeah. So yeah. So actually, so boom, even though Vice Carter is free now, and I buy the ticket and I missed the event. Just the fact that I was able to buy the ticket gave me the ability to actually sit down and listen to the read what he did. I understand. Okay, yeah, that's the reason why I could not go into reggae song fest. Oh, that's the reason why I was. Oh, so knowing that now, if I were actually going to future events, I know that. Oh, okay, and that's the thing where um things are as clear with the understanding. So you know, boom, certain stuff aren't as scary and when you take the time to understand it. So like for example, you're going and like you're going and hear some speaking Jamaica again and all that stuff. Look off the zone officer, na. Terrific loan officer, all those stuff. What means that certain that's the thing, next level of poverty in Jamaica and all that stuff. Boom, they make a song for a reason. Just like I spoke about health card and HIV and all those stuff. And you watch a show called Straight Outta Compton and you're like, oh, something about the police and stuff like that. And like I realized that, I reached certain levels to be like, oh my god, like it's it's more complex. Like the more actually going to it, be like it's more complex. So it's like that's why I did the funeral and stuff like that. The whole funeral stuff, bro. It was like legit. It's so complex. It's one of the funeral is so complex. It's in police. I'm like, bro, like that's why I always talk about compare the Queen's funeral. So like, oh my god. The more I get into it, like the more sophisticated it is, bro. Actually didn't even watch the see I was out there so chilling out. When I went to my grandma's funeral, I see police, everybody. That means that what you realized was that you actually drive one of the cars that is carrying the casket. Bro, you maybe have to have a driver's license, bro. So it's like, maybe so maybe like anybody out there can just go out and just drive the casket. That's the thing where the extending of life and all those stuff. Extending of life and all those stuff. Like I'm out there bashing the funeral. But they're doing a lot of stuff to actually extend the person's life. So like for example, carrying the casket. You may have to driver's license. Yeah, it's like this episode is so terrible. But what I mean, it's not terrible. It's just that it's the best stuff I could actually recall at this time, bro. I have so much stuff. Yeah, like so much stuff, bro. But I guess the thing about 2025 April is that I'm so not healthy, bro. So not healthy, bro. So not healthy that I can't even tell what what level of health is, bro. I can't tell if there's another. Can't tell if it's a version of health that exists, bro. And coming out and my God, I'm so healthy, bro. This episode has enough information to chill out, to actually get certain stuff out of the way to actually maybe record some more stuff. I'm gonna I'm gonna put it for like 2 hours. Oh my God, it's already 2 hours already. It's actually 2 hours already. Yeah, so that's basically for this episode, bro. I'm so tired, bro. Yeah, this is basically something for this episode, but